Floyd Mayweather Jr. sues Showtime former executive for $340 million, alleging years of fraud. That's years. Wow. All right, let's get into this article. Former boxing champion Floyd Mayweather Jr. is suing Showtime Networks and the former president of Showtime Sports, alleging the company helped facilitate an extended fraud scheme that denied him roughly $340 million in earnings. Wow. Mayweather filed a lawsuit Tuesday in California state court seeking repayment for the alleged misappropriated funds plus millions of dollars in damages for missed investment opportunities that money could have gone toward. Wow. The lawsuit focuses on business practices of Al Heyman, Mayweather's former agent and financial advisor. It alleges that Showtime and former top executive Steven Espinoza, who brought Mayweather to the network and negotiated terms for many of his early fights, ignored red flags indicating Heyman was siphoning millions from the boxing star. Heyman is not named in the suit, which paints him as a highly secretive person who intentionally avoids leaving paper trails by dealing almost entirely via faxes and in-person meetings. It lays out a timeline of his relationship with Mayweather, who the suit said viewed Heyman as a father figure and confidant. That is strange. I want to give my opinion on that. Mayweather over the years has always said that Al Heyman, he always seen as a father figure, so this doesn't make sense. Like, why 10 years later, like, why he's suing them? Like, this doesn't make sense at all. Now the big question is that I think everyone's probably wondering, is Floyd Mayweather broke? I don't think he's broke, but I think he is running out of money. I think that's probably what's going on. You know, he's made so much money. I think, let me see, from obviously the Manny Pacquiao fight and his last fight, which he made a lot of money in his pro fights, which was, Conor McGregor, which was back in August 2017. That's almost 10 years already. That's literally almost a decade. And from millions from what he made from both Manny Pacquiao and McGregor, I mean, I'm pretty sure that could last over a decade, depending on how he spends his money. I mean, you know how Floyd is, you know, the luxury lifestyle. And it kind of makes you wonder too, like, how does he spend his money? Like, trying to maintain that lifestyle, especially the way how the world is right now, the economy, inflation, stuff like that, you know. So it kind of does make you wonder, like, is he really running out of money? Sorry. But for him to sue Showtime and Steven Espinoza is kind of like a desperate move on his part. All right, well, let's move on to the article. Let's see. Rather than taking the 33% cut of fight payoffs, the boxing managers typically accept. The suit said Heyman made a verbal agreement with Mayweather in 2004 to receive 10% of his earnings. That arrangement extended for more than 15 years despite the lack of a written agreement between the two. That's interesting. During that time, Heyman allegedly set up a series of bank accounts under his name and those of people working with him without disclosing the details to Mayweather. Okay. So he didn't tell Floyd too much. Heyman then began working with Espinoza to serve as a sort of financial middleman on the boxer's behalf. The suit alleges instead of going to Mayweather directly, his earnings were deposited into Heyman's networks of bank accounts, which he maintained with an associate named Jeff Morris. Those accounts would then transfer the money to Mayweather after deducting Heyman's cut. Given the size of the transfers, which is hundreds of millions, the unusual nature of paying a fighter via a third-party lawyer's trust account, this should have raised red flags within Showtime. The lawsuit states, on information and belief, Steven Espinoza and other Showtime executives were aware that Al Heyman was the de facto controller behind those accounts. Thus, defendants knew that by sending funds to Jeff Morris' account, they were knowingly participating in a structure that kept Mayweather from directly receiving or overseeing his own earnings. Okay, that's interesting. Those transfers were often short tens of millions of dollars by the time they reached Mayweather, according to the suit. That's because Heyman allegedly deducted large cuts marked as reimbursements, creating the image on paper that he was recouping money he previously fronted Mayweather. Mayweather's lawsuit states that that was not the case and that those moves were solely to enrich Heyman. When asked for information about the transactions, Heyman would allegedly hide or destroy a document, sometimes sending just signature pages instead of full copies of deals to hide contract deals. The lawsuit points to his general avoidance of electronic communication as a tactic to avoid leaving evidence of his dealings. I mean, this shows you that you can't really trust anybody in the sport of boxing. I've seen other YouTubers saying that boxing is basically the Wild West in sports. I mean, you really can't trust anybody. If this is true, I don't know if this is true or not, but that is crazy though to think. All right, moving on to the article. On at least one occasion, Heyman or his agents allegedly altered a document to conceal wrongdoing. The lawsuit states Mayweather's representatives have an example of fax authorization form in which the date appears to have been manually altered, whitened out, and rewritten to misrepresent what it was signed, or when it was signed. The same document which purported to authorize Jeff Morris to pay himself a large sum from Mayweather's account had a telling notation initially. We need to cover our, okay, I can't say that word, which we need to cover our behind, which was crossed out in the version sent to the bank. Shortly after Heyman suffered a stroke in 2023, Mayweather began working with new management and financial team to review his earnings from the prior decade. The group of lawyers and forensic accounts, however, faced significant hurdles as they began reaching out to Showtime and Heyman's associates, according to the suit. Heyman allegedly claimed many records were destroyed in a flood at a storage facility or had been lost. That constituted a breach of California laws that require vendors, I can't even read that word, to maintain certain records and provide them a client's request. Alright, so in summary, Floyd is suing Showtime because he thinks that he was done dirty, he was done wrong. Al Heyman was basically stealing money from him. And Steven Espinoza as well. I mean, I can't say like this is true or not true at all, because this is a real reach from Floyd. So who knows? But anyways, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I would like to see what you guys have to say. I want your guys' opinion. But that's all. Peace.